I'm gonna tell you a little story. Someone asked if I ever feel like, or how do you deal with feelings of being less than, not as talented, feelings of inferiority. Maybe you're an imposter. And as I sit here in my house 10 years on, making bath bombs by hand, I have to tell you that there are many parts of me that think I'm inferior right now. In the 10 years that I've run the Butters, there have been so many people who have come and gone and become billionaires in the same industry that I'm still essentially manually working in with a couple of administrative tasks. I don't struggle with that a lot because I just choose not to think about it. The same thing is true when it comes to like being a blogger or a media person. And I have to say that the feeling is actually stronger with being a blogger or media person because that was one of my goals when I went to college. I wanted to be a journalist. So when I became a sexual psychologist, I wanted to mesh the two together, which is how I became a sex blogger. So in that time, especially before my skills had compounded and really grown and matured, I'm living in the era of millennial upward mobility, visible upward mobility, the Instagram era. So for me, that entire thing was, why don't you just give up? Sincerely. Because my contemporaries were people who had TV shows and they were getting interviewed by, CNN and writing books and they had publicists, and I'm just a dude in his house in Michigan at the time. And honestly, to this day, there are people who I will go online, and I hate follow them, who are more successful than me at that particular thing. And periodically, it'll get in my head because I just wonder, and I want to understand why people like them more, why they're better at it than me. And I think that's one of the important parts of feeling less than, is just admitting that you are in many ways. No one is perfect at everything. I have a lot of things. I'm not great with social situations. You see me sitting in my house alone a lot. That is because I do play well with others, but for the most part, I just like to be alone. Social things are stressful. They require so much mental energy from me. And unless people are going to be predictable and reliable and have integrity and don't drain my mental energy, I can't handle it. That's not special for me, and that's normal. And it's true. Even though I do play well with others, I'm not as likable. That's just, no, I'm not as likable. And for all of my great skills and all of the things that make me likable, even my own family doesn't like me. They might love me, but they do not like me. They find me annoying and a problem maker. It's partially a cultural difference because I am a very forward-thinking person. I'm always looking for the next thing. I'm thinking about long-tail consequences and such. That's not really how most people in the world live. So to them, I'm just an annoying person who they don't understand and don't see value in. Cool. And that compounds in other ways. So my question for you is, do you have a family? Did you have a family that supported you and helped you feel like you were worthwhile? Because even though my family doesn't like me, I say that, it sounds so bad. It does, I say it so factually, but it sounds really, really bad.
It's much better to face these kinds of things with a sense of voice and rationality.
It's really just a matter of personality. Even though I say that, as a child growing up, I still had a lot of support. And I still had a lot of people telling me that I could do it and identifying my talents, identifying my skills. And as an adult, the things that I did not get complimented for as a child are things that I still have a hard time developing, realizing that I've already developed it, or utilizing it, even though I know I've developed it. Because you can't blame everything on childhood, right? You grow up, you learn, you do stuff, you make up for your deficits. And I did in many ways. But there's often like a disconnect between having the skills and using the skills, knowing things, integrating them. And that's the reality half there. Because in a lot of ways, it's just simply true that we are not as good as other people, and we have to handle that first. But once you've handled that part, and you get into the more psychological portion, the question becomes, what do I need to support me to fake it till you make it, essentially? Because I'm gonna let you in on a little secret, something that I've learned that has helped me with my feeling inferior. And that is, most people are stupid. And I don't mean that in like a personal superiority way. I mean, everyone is making it up as they go. Lots of people stopped developing in high school. Lots of people are learning things every day. Lots of people are lying about their qualifications. Lots of people are hungover, drunk, tired, stoned right the fuck now. A lot of people they don't plan, they don't think, they're not proactive. A lot of people lack the ability to maintain and be thorough and execute. A lot of people do not have the decision-making capabilities. And I don't mean compared to me, I mean they just don't have them. Like they literally don't have them. There is a common misunderstanding that all adults are hyper competent. As a kid, I thought that was dumb because I would look at people and they would do stupid things. And these are older teenagers. Teenagers are dumb, great. But then the adults were also being dumb. And they would try and convince me that I was wrong and I was dumb. Because, I'm a kid and I'm illogical. And of course, kids aren't smart at everything, but there's just so many times where you'll be like, this is gonna turn out bad. Or my little autistic ass did. And people just do not listen or don't care or they know it. And as a kid, I thought, wait, you don't know what's going on? And a lot of times they don't. A lot of people are not fully autonomous in their thinking and their behavior. The fact that I can sit here and independently wake up, it's before 9 a.m. I woke up independently, got a shower, brushed my teeth, took my meds, made my coffee. I smoked my vape. Yes, I'm slightly stoned right now. And I then sat down and completed something that I prepped last night. Lots of people cannot do that because there's no one telling them to do it. What's really helped me, outside of realizing that everybody's making it up as they go, is that as I've gotten older, the parts that make me sad about not being good are less useful or made me feel bad. I can't speak for you. But my guess is, as you've gotten older, your quiet skills, the ones that made you separate, the one that makes you even have the awareness to ask the question or to feel like you're not as good as other people, those skills, as you get older, if they haven't already, they will become more important, more powerful, more pivotal to your success as a person. And those quiet skills will not only be more important, but they will have compounded for years already. They are going to be paying dividends as you grow. Say you're a person who is super social in your youth. Being social comes with trade-offs. You can't be authentic because to be liked is to be fake. To be loved is to be authentic. And some people are okay with trading off authenticity for likability. Some people are more likable than others, so they don't really have to do it that much. We all have natural benefits and detriments. And like, if we had it, we wouldn't care. We wouldn't fix it. So whatever. The real thing is just knowing what you got and working with what you got. Like what the song says, shake what your mama gave you, right? You got to shake what your mama and your daddy gave you and what you made from what they gave you. And truthfully, a lot of that feeling of less than, inferior, is a feeling of not belonging. You're not supposed to be there. This is very common in people who come from lower class situations. I do. And I'm lucky in that I have a personality that allows me to just be like, authority does not hit to my psyche very well. Not in like a negative way. For example, I'll tell you a story. I'm not religious, but I like collective jubilation. So sometimes I'll go to church. And I'll when I go to church, I'll typically want to sing in the choir. One day after church practice or choir practice, I left something up in the robe room and it was locked. And the first person I saw was a person that, in my head, you run the church, so you have keys, which means you can help me. It was the pastor of the... And what he said, when I asked him, he said, "You're a brave man for asking a pastor something, something, something." I can't remember his exact wording, but I just remember the brave man part because my head said, why am I brave? Is this not your house? Is this not your building? Like, if someone came to my house and locked something in the garage, wouldn't they come ask me? Like, doesn't that make logical sense to you? Perhaps I'm just autistic, spectrumed out like a motherfucker, but I do have the ability to talk to people in authority. I just have to feel like I belong in the room, like they want me there. And then I also just need to know the language. So for me, the language of business, I don't know what world you're in. That's what I'm working on now. I'm building my confidence. Despite all what you see, I have confidence in me. My confidence in those sorts of spaces, not because I necessarily want to go like corporate or anything, but I just have to interact on a more business level. I just simply have to. It's real life, and real life is complicated, and there's like a lot of reasons why I've done things a certain way. But one of the many reasons that I've sort of like held in this stability pattern for the last 5 years, which you may or may not realize, but we've been stable in terms of making money for the last 5 years. We've been stable in terms of like growth. We're just sort of like coming along here. But on the back end, that means technically I'm personally making less money, which is not great. And one of the things that has held me back from actually wanting to like be out in the world was this feeling of that people don't want to see me. I'm not entertaining enough. People don't like me. So I'll just hide in my house. Now, some of that was the pandemic, sure. Some of that was diagnosed mental illness, sure. But I know me, and you know you. And you know what's blocking you, what's holding you back. You know what's making you feel inferior. And it is probably one of the things that I mentioned, a feeling of belonging. It's a feeling like I don't have the skills to be here. It's that I don't understand that everyone else is dumber than me. That, you know, I've lived a life where I've been rejected by family and I don't know that I'm welcome now. Or I can't see myself from the outside, so I lack that perspective, or something like that, right? I might have started with there's the possibility that you are actually inferior, because we always have to look at our deficits. But once you look at your deficits and you see, no, I'm quite talented. I'm just different. And I can see inside of myself and they can't, or I can't see inside of them. You'll come to realize that you might be inferior in some ways, but everyone has benefits and detriments. I know that I'm not super great socially, but I also know that I'm funny, and that as long as I'm in a good mental headspace, I have a way about me that makes people regard me positively. Do I understand what that is? No. Do I need to understand what that is? No. That's not my problem. Just like what the back of my head looks like, that's not my problem. That has nothing to do with me. I don't care what my ass looks like. It's not my problem. I literally can't see it. Like, don't you understand? If I don't see it, it doesn't exist. That is none of my business. That's none of my problem. That's none of my issue. And truthfully, it's none of your issue either. Because it doesn't matter how people see you. It matters that you're where you want to be and that you feel comfortable there. Because when you're asking about feelings of inferiority and feeling like you don't belong and maybe you're less talented or whatever, those feelings, man, that's all you. Just like it's all me. And it's why I've been able to overcome them in a lot of ways. I wouldn't be on camera right now if I still felt like so inferior to people. Because this video is going to get maybe 60 views. Maybe. And I know that. I know that I'm a fucking nobody on YouTube. I know that I'm not a personality. I know that I'm not Charlie. I know I'm not, what's the dude from Iron Lung? Markiplier. I'm not any of these people. That's not my skill set, right? And I come from a lower class people, so I'm having to do a lot of learning in terms of how to be a part of that culture and that world. And truthfully, it's getting into a lot of very deep childhood things that you don't really notice. That's why I mentioned mom and dad and having a supportive family. And I've also mentioned lightly about class levels. I like to avoid things that I'm not super knowledgeable about. And truthfully, I never realized. I just never considered myself to have like a low class culture or thought or mindset. But through my learning, that's what I've come to realize, is that a lot of my hangups right now, including feelings of inferiority, because this is an exclusively lower class anxiety. People of a higher class always feel like they belong. They were born feeling that way, and they were brought up to feel that way. But you, the likelihood is that you've come very far from where you started. And because of that, you're not aware of how stupid, how faking, how just keeping it barely together everyone else is. It's not so much that you are actually worse at anything but pretending.